All right, so I want to talk to you guys today about deliberate action planning, and that has been the what I've been working on with so many people over the years. Deliberate action planning for me, it means it is the optimal in the suboptimal. So this is like I want to create the best plan I can for my entire week. Deliberate action planning when I was on SWAT meant, hey, we've got this house secured. I want them to come out the front door, surrender themselves to me. We're gonna handcuff them and walk away. That's the deliberate action plan with all the resources involved, way more obviously detailed than that. Immediate action plan was, you know what? I got no resources. What are we going to do the best I can do right now and make it happen? So this is the difference between immediate action plan and deliberate action plan. Deliberate is we are working. We're going to constantly improve the immediate action plan until it actually meets the deliberate action plan, which is like our 10 out of 10. And right now, maybe we only have the resources to 1 out of 10. So for that deliberate action planning, where this kind of comes from. So I love this quote. A busy calendar and a busy mind will destroy your ability to create anything great. And part of what I work on with the Aggressively Masculine program is protector. It's one of the covets. It's one of these runes on my neck. The protector means protector of not just my relationships and my family from like a self-defense standpoint, myself. Protector to me means protector of time, because by protecting my time, I am protecting my relationships with my family and those that are important to me. So for you guys, time, for all of us, it's the non-renewable resource, right? You can't stop it. You can't manage it. You need to manage yourself within it because you can't manage the time. You can't stop it. For me, a big part of that was figuring out kind of like my hourly rate and then doubling it. And this was like, I got this from a mentor, and almost everything here was kind of stolen or used or repurposed from so many different people that influenced me in my life, plus my own experiences, right? So I figured out my hourly rate, and then I kind of doubled it. And if I'm going to break an appointment, or if I'm going to give up something that's very important to me, it needs to kind of meet that hourly rate. And I'm not talking about like my actual shifts at the gym or my shifts on the podcast, things like that. I just mean like if I'm going to give up something that's very important to me, some time off, some time with my family, it is going to have to be very, very worth it. Great examples of that is like if you can get up your landscaping or cutting the grass. Delegate something that you can't do as good as other people, right? Front end work always equals back end benefits. Get your head out of the gutter, Dell, right? So the front end work always equals the back end benefits. So for example, Austin's on this call. It took a lot of work. It took like some years to kind of get Austin into the position to kind of run the gym and to do all this stuff. However, now I'm reaping the benefits of that because I've freed up some time for myself to do things that I want to do that spark my interest, that spark my relationships and my business, while I can leave Austin in charge. Routine and discipline equal freedom, right? The ability to the ability to create routine, as though it sounds rigid, it sounds like it would be the opposite. It actually helps me to create freedom in my life because I'm militant about my time. I'm militant about how I'm going to spend my time. And a big part of that is saying no. So saying no is one of the hardest things to do. I know I've got some people on here. Dell, you've got I feel like that's one of the things that you've really improved on is like saying no. The ability to kind of like look at what's an opportunity and what's an obstacle, what's going to be a time sucker and what's not. And that's something I'm working on every day myself. And then, we do not, in this world, like the whole phone, this thing is fighting. It's fighting everything, and it's trying to make you put all your attention here, right? And it stopped us from being able to like start a project and not start something else. And not maybe a project, but just a little bit of a task, right? We want to pay all of our bills at once rather than pay a couple of bills and then be lost to the red ball of my email going off, my text going off, my notifications on Instagram going off, somebody walking in my office. We want to start one task and finish it all together. Jared, can I get you to mute, buddy, please? No problem at all. Right. So for one of the best ways to kind of like start to like audit your time and audit yourself and to do better is, in my opinion, was to like sniff out what my weakness is. Where are my distractions? And for me, it was obvious. I get so wrapped up in my work and my other tasks that I put my boys and Danny, my wife, on the back burner quite often. And not just them, all the people that are most important to you. So if you think about that, if you guys go in your head and you write down maybe, who's going to be bedside by you right now if you were to be, read your last rites? Who's going to carry the casket? Those people are often the ones that we always put on the back burner when we choose to do other things. And I found that I was doing that all the time. Another thing that was pulling me away was booze. And I've been very open with like my battles with alcohol, and then not even, being a functioning alcoholic, so to speak, having alcohol and whatever else kind of like take away my time, but not just pull my time. It was also taking away my effectiveness and my presence, my ability to show up 100% for my team, for my family. Getting up in the morning was always an issue when I was drinking, right? And it's such a slippery slope for me. And that's why I've completely given up alcohol, because for me, I would do a great job. I'd have a few drinks. I'd have, not get drunk. It'd be like weeks, months would go by sometimes. And then that slippery slope would happen. There'd be one party I'd let loose, and then they started to come more and more often, which just led to more and more wasted time. Wasting time on social media, particularly in the morning, is another one of my weaknesses. Inefficient workouts. Austin, you see this all the time. I'm working out at work, right? So I am dealing with work and social media and all those things often when I should just be focused for a good 45 minutes to 60 minutes of my own stuff, right? And another weakness is we have small town businesses. So that puts us always in the spotlight. And I don't mean like there's people following around with cameras or anything like that. What I mean is like a lot of times my business becomes other people's business. And when we go out, the best part about our gym is the small community. But when we go in our communities, we see all the people from the business, and it's hard to kind of get away. So in order to navigate that, right, I kind of like put some tools into my life to start to help me focus more on avoiding those weaknesses, right? If you want to lose weight, don't buy chips, right? So I started putting my phone, when I'm doing my work, put my phone into a separate room. My boys, we invented a thing called the phone box. And the phone box, what that is, it's just a Nike shoe box. You guys know I love my shoes. It's a Nike shoe box. They drew all over it. It says Mom and Dad's phone box. We say get that phone box out. They get super pumped. They go grab it. We put our phones in it, and they get to hide it in their room. We'll tell them like, hey, in 30 minutes, we're gonna get that phone box back out, or maybe in an hour and a half, or tonight's movie night, put the phone box away until we're done the movie. And my kids just know that just means it's 100% accountability from us that we're not going to use our phones, and that they're going to get that time. And I know like some of you, your kids are older or you don't have children, but imagine if you just put your phone away and gave your wife, your loved ones, your mother, your father, whoever that is, 100% of your attention for even 30 minutes. We so rarely do that these days. I had a noise canceling headphones, and then I started to do what I want to show you guys today, which is the cue, and it's my nightly planning. Plan. And I used to have an old SWAT leader, and I'm sure you guys have heard this. I don't think he invented it, but he always said failing to plan, right, is planning to fail. And any plan is better than no plan. That was always another one that we used on SWAT. Any plan is better than no plan. So having some type of plan ahead is always going to help you to read and react faster and with more efficiency. So deliberate action planning. I really don't believe that life is pulled out of one or out of two cups. They say work-life balance. I really believe that all of that comes from one cup altogether. My work and my life, I'm pulling out of the same energy pool. So I schedule that all in one. I don't try to actually separate it. I embrace that my energy from my work is going to affect my energy at home, and my energy at home is going to affect my energy at work. So I want to build my work around my life, though, right? I want to create an outline for my week and a guide that takes away decision making. So I always preach about the importance of making decisions. You got some guys on here that have very high stress jobs. I'm looking at the two farmers. Kritzer, I know you're managing 1 million people. Austin, I've just put you in charge of so many more things. You have to make decisions all day long. There's a thing, and it's very real. In SWAT, I was making, we were doing 3,000 calls. It was ridiculous how many decisions were having to be made. So the less decisions I'm forced to make, the better I'm going to be able to make the big decisions. So taking away decisions, like think about a kid going to high school. I went to high school where I wore uniforms. That was one less decision to make in a day. The garage gym, we've now had our people wear uniforms. Reason behind that is it's like one, you don't even have to think about it. I'm going to put on my black sweats with my black t-shirt and my black hoodie, and we're going to go to the gym. And that's it. That is one decision we're taking away. And that seems so minor, but think about things like that in your life. Decision fatigue is a real thing. So if you can put yourself in a position to make less decisions so that you can focus on the bigger ones, you're going to do much better. To-do lists. I used to really navigate my day with to-do lists. And this is, all of this was created when I was really, really at my busiest. In my first few, probably 4 to 5 years as being the SWAT team leader, I got married. I had kids. I opened the garage gym. We were doing 600 hours of overtime a year, not a month. Okay, a year. High risk. The business was running at full tilt out of my house, and I had two basically little babies. Braun might not have been born yet, but we had little kids at home. The importance of prioritizing my time was never so important. So I started to do this all the time. Another reason is I'm always looking to start my day with a win. I hate starting the day, and I was so guilty of this, especially when I first opened my business, was opening this phone and seeing the negative, so-and-so twisted their ankle at the gym, or the doors wouldn't lock, or I'm starting my day in a turmoil. I want to start my day in 100% positive, so that when the first client I see at the gym, or the first interaction I have with my children when they wake up is going to be a super positive one. It sets the tone and shifts your mindset. Only working a day in advance, like the cue that I'm going to teach you, allows you to adjust for surprises and emergencies while protecting the things that are most important to you. So the way this thing starts, first of all, I set out some rules for my life, right? Standards that I set for myself, a code of ethics, core values, family values, business values. And I always make this joke, when I first started doing this presentation, being a vegan was a little bit more in vogue, okay? But I want to be like a vegan, or I used to not make the joke about being like a sober guy like me. And honestly, this whole be like a vegan is kind of like where the alcohol thing came from. You can tease a vegan, you can make fun of them, but they will not eat a steak, man. They are going to stick to their guns. And when it comes to standards and the code of ethics and the rules that I have in my life, I want to be like the vegan. And in so many ways, that's why I gave up alcohol, because, I would go and I'd be doing a good job and going to cut down on my drinking. And then it's like, hey, Dell's asked me, let's go grab a beer. Okay, sure. Let's have another one. Let's just, you're not drinking, just do this shot, just for my birthday. Okay, I'd always say, okay, no problem. But now it's like, no, I don't drink. There's no decision to be made. There's no evaluation to have. Do that with your core values in your life and the rules you're going to set. And I'm going to share with you some of those rules a little bit later. One for me is I don't drink. Another rule I've set out is that I will not say no to my boys when they want to read. I might not say yes at the very moment, but I won't say no. I'll say, you know what, I'm busy now, but we can read at 4 o'clock if you want to come back. Yeah, okay, Dad, I'll see you at 4. And they watch me. I put it right into my Google Calendar, and they watch me do that. And that creates a lot of excitement. They know that that they are important enough to make it into my schedule. I can't stop every time they come in the room, especially with them being homeschooled. But I also want to encourage them to read, and they want to do it with me even better. Now, where did the cue come from? So Eisenhower had this quote, what is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important. And he made these quadrants, and not the quadrants you see on the screen. His, in my opinion, were too complicated for me. But you know what? Eisenhower was the president. He was the dean of a school, or the president of a school. He had a million. He was one of the most, credited people you'd ever see in terms of the high value jobs that he was doing at once. So I figured he's a good place to start. But I needed to make this more simple, because at the end of the day, I'm just a guy who got paid to lift weights, crush doors, and knock some people over. I can't say what I used to say about that, okay? But since we're recording. However, punch guys in the face, right, Dell? That's what you're thinking, okay? So I created was the queue. And the queue for me in policing, we had a computer, and on the computer there'd be a bunch of calls, and they'd be listed, and it would be called the queue. And how the queue would work, and it makes a lot of sense. You think about an ambulance, or you think about they're always triaging, right? The queue was a priority sequence to let us know where the police were needed and when they were needed and how we should get there. So for me, the queue became this. So I do it right here on a notebook and a piece of paper. I usually carry it around with me everywhere I go. I add to it all week long, and I change it all week long. But the cue for me is this. So if you just take in your notebook, just make the 4 quadrants. Top left, priority 1. Top right, priority 2. Bottom left, 10-6 not available. And bottom right is going to be P4, noise complaints. And I'll explain what all of those mean. I start Sounds funny, but I'm a meathead, and why I start in the bottom left of that quadrant is beyond me, but I like to see my priority ones at the top left. But where I start my week and my planning is with 10-6 not available. For me, these are going to be meetings. Okay, they're going to be shifts on the gym floor. They're going to be non-negotiables, which I'm going to show to you in a minute what my non-negotiables are. They're check-ins. They're coaching my kids. These are things that absolutely I cannot miss. So one of the things, and this is the only thing that I actually lay out the entire week ahead. Most things I do on a daily basis. I'll lay out my next day. But the 10-6, why do I do this? Because these are the things that matter the most to me. We said we want to build our work life around our personal life. So I want to put my personal life in there first. So my workouts. From a business standpoint, I have to be on my shifts. I can't miss the shifts on the floor. So my shifts on the floor are going to get in there. Meetings. Whether that is with my mother or with Mike Dell because he wants to talk some business. I'm going to put Dell or Kritzer on there. I am going to lock that in. And when I say I'm not available, it means I am not available. Nothing can happen that's going to let me break that appointment. And if you guys who have worked with me, I very, very rarely break an appointment. That is going to be short of life or death kind of situations. And why do I view it like that? Well, if I'm going to protect my time, then I need to respect yours. So when I lock you into my calendar, it is locked in. You don't have to check with me and say, hey, do we have a call tomorrow? No, we have a call tomorrow. That is it. We're locking that in. My current non-negotiables. So these are the things that go in my calendar outside of meetings and events and like my shifts at work. Daily. My workouts. I'm going to put my workouts in my calendar and I am not breaking them. It's just like entering a dentist appointment. They are locked in and I'm not moving it. Espresso time with Danny. That's just 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes that we do daily. Where we have a little espresso, we sit down and we actually talk, just her and I. The kids know that they're actually not welcome in the room at that point. They know to go hang out. They can go on their screen for 10 minutes. That's another thing. We just keep those screens away from them. So when we need to use them, they're ready to go. I used to schedule these in a week ahead of time, but now Danny, with her schedule, she finds it's much easier if she messages me a time every day and I say, yep, perfect, because she can see my calendar too. 10 pages of reading, which usually is about 10 minutes, 15 minutes if you read like me. 20 minutes outside. I find that just getting outside every day is making me feel so much healthier. Even in the coldest, crappiest days, I'm going to get outside for 20 minutes. Brain dump. Okay, that one's on there so twice because it's so important. Brain dump, right? We want nightly blackout. It reboots and fixes everything, and that's part of what today's call is about. Weekly, I want to do 6 to 12 hours of blackout time. I want to do a date with Danny, even if that's just an hour to go grab coffee somewhere by ourselves or a burger, and one family excursion. Often that's like something like Point Pelee, going for a hike, or the Greenview trails. Quarterly, travel. Okay, I schedule this in. If you don't schedule in your travel, you'll never leave your house. So I schedule it in, even if it's just a weekend away, a seminar, something. I want to leave the house and spend one night out every quarter, and usually that's going to be with somebody I work with, or with Danny, or even with the boys. Now, if we talk about our next quadrant, top left, these are priority 1 items. Okay, so priority 1 means that these, for policing, this is 911. Okay, this is like legit 911. These are things that we need to go with lights and sirens. So if we were in the policing world, how would I think about this? At priority 1, somebody is breaking into the house now. Somebody is getting beat with a baseball bat now. Somebody is going to kill themselves now. So we are attending. We have to get there because we can save life. We can save bodily harm. We can save property. We can still make a difference. So for how I have viewed this for my business and for my personal life, these are deadlines. Often they're people issues. I know a lot of you guys I've worked on here with like the leadership stuff. People issues are very important, right? We try to get people issues snuffed out as soon as possible because people issues tend to burn fast. And we got to take care of those. Other things that might need my immediate attention, and these things often come up quick and unexpected. But differentiating between what is a priority 1 and what is next as priority 2 is very important to me. Think about Eisenhower's quote again, right? What is urgent, seldom important. Priority 2. So this is the top right corner. These things are important. They're often time sensitive, but not urgent. These are bigger projects which I love to take large scale projects and break them down as priority 2 items. So think about those of you involved in the gym. A 6-week transformation for us is a massive project, but I'll break that into little micro projects and take those out so I can take these down in 60-minute tasks and get a lot done. Creative thinking for me is a priority 2. So I know I have mentioned Fahad's on here. Fahad assigns to me a ton of creative thinking, and I struggle with it. So that is something that I will break down into smaller projects and dedicate some time that works for me, because I know it's going to take a while. But at the end of the day, it's not going to, it might really push my business to get this job done, thinking about that social media, but it's not going to cripple my business if I don't get it done. In the world of policing, the difference was, we talked about the man who was getting beaten with a baseball bat, or the person being broken into the house, or the person breaking into the house. That's priority 1. Priority 2, the person's already at the hospital, the suspect's long gone, the house has already been broken into, the family has found it ransacked. These things are terrible, but they've already happened. So I'm going to go and I'm going to take a detailed report that's going to take a lot of my time, but there is no emergency. The emergency's come and gone. So that's how I would think of a priority 2 item. Personal development, I also put in there as priority 2, right? That's going to be, I'm usually taking some type of course. Something like this might be a personal development that I would consider priority 2, which I do these things all the time, where I listen to people and try to steal what they're doing, what works for me. And then that last quadrant, the bottom right, this is the dumpster fire. This is what sucks us dry. It's the noise complaints, the barking dogs, the parking complaints. In the world of policing, man, we don't even usually need to go to these. One, it's quite possibly not even a police matter. So think about that from an entrepreneur standpoint, or from a leadership standpoint. Maybe I can just delegate this out. Maybe it doesn't need my attention at all, right? And I'm going to get to these when I get to them. In the policing, sometimes these calls will sit for 2 or 3 days, and you know what will happen? The dog will start barking. The car will get moved. The music will get turned down, right? These are priority 4 items. So I'm going to plug these in the bottom right corner of my priority list and let myself get to them when I can. Something I do with these, I either delegate or they self-eliminate. If they sit on my list for a week or 2, I probably didn't even need to do it. I scratch it, okay? Or I delegate. Maybe it's fix the roof, which is something I can't do anyway. I don't know why I'm picking that as a topic, but that's something I had to do last week. I'm going to delegate that. I can't get that done. So I'm going to delegate that out, and it's going to get done, right? The thing about the to-do list, and if you just create a traditional to-do list with no prioritization, is that list will never, ever stop. The to-do list never gets to done, ever. And what happens in your mind is, as that list grows and you check something off the bottom and it's growing at the top, the water never comes down. The water never stops. You can't ever breathe, and you're not getting those wins that you get when you prioritize your task and you knock off the big items, right? So what I do with those is I just plug and play them into leftover time in my schedule, which I'm going to show you in a second here, right? So leftover time in my schedule means that I'm going to set 60 minutes a time, 60-minute slots usually for what the things that I want to do. My priority ones, 60 minutes. If I get something done and it only took me 35, then I am going to either reward myself like a dog, right? I'm going to get a coffee. I get to go and have a snack. I get to maybe surf the internet, okay, or surf social media. Or I'm going to knock off some priority 4s because I got 15 extra minutes. And maybe it's going to be paying a bill or sending out a task to Austin to follow up with somebody. Those are going to be my small items, and I'm not really going to schedule them in. Now, how do I make this work? I start like Sunday night. Sunday night is my number one time my most important part of the week is Sunday night, because I'm going to meet with Danny, who, I mean, you guys here, whether you have a business party, you're probably not going to meet with them on Sunday night, but mine lives with me. Okay, but also because she's my wife, and I know there's people here who have busy, schedules with their boys. Especially, I know a lot of you guys the kids have grown up, and Del, you're gonna get here soon as your boy gets older and older. And we're gonna make sure that we have a weekly plan together. Hey, what are the things I'm missing for the family? Who's gonna take care of this? Okay, good. I got that. I'm bringing Colt to baseball. You bring Braun to hockey or to football, whatever it is, right? And then I'm gonna create my weekly queue. So I'm gonna take that piece of paper, make my 4, and I'm going to start to write down the things I have to do, and I'm going to put them into one of those boxes. I'm going to set out my non-negotiables into my Google Calendar for the week, whatever calendar you use. That's up to you. Maybe it's just a daily planner and a book. It doesn't matter to me. Then I enter the plan for just Monday. So I set out all my 10-6 items, my workouts, okay, my time with my family, my meetings with whoever it is, a call like this. I'm going to set those out. They're all locked in. Then I'm going to look Monday. This is what I'm going to get done Monday. And I start to enter in blocks of time. I complete the next day's plan. And I make sure that my personal non-negotiables are planned all the time. Why do I not complete the whole week? Well, the only things I'm absolutely 100% not willing to move are my personal 10-6 items. Everything else I can move. There's an emergency, I can move something. And certainly there will be. Almost every single day I have to move something. Or I just didn't get the job done. An hour wasn't enough. So now instead of having to reschedule or jumble up my whole week, I'm just dragging and pulling things from one day to another so that it's easy and it's going to save me time in the end. And I'm going to pull up my schedule for you guys to see in a minute. So before bed, every single day. That's the end of my work day. Unfortunately, maybe some of you guys, it might be healthier to do this at 4 or 5 o'clock in the night so that you can just spend time with your family. My gym doesn't close till 9 o'clock. So really my work day doesn't end till 9 o'clock. I get lots of breaks in between and I don't have to do too much at night, but I do want to make sure that when Austin closes up at 8:30, there's nothing I have to deal with, because if I don't take care of it, one, it could be an emergency, and two, I won't be able to sleep. So this is how I kind of get ready for bed around 8:30. I set out my calendar for the next day. So I review my priority 1 and 2 tasks. Maybe some things have changed. Maybe something went from a priority 2 to a priority 1. Maybe something took care of itself and it just gets cut off altogether. I do my ideas. I brainstorm some mini goals, break down big projects. I review the priorities, adjust it, and then I let it flow onto the paper. So I do just a little bit of journaling. How do I feel about today? How do I rate my day from 1 to 10? What was my biggest success and what was my biggest point of tension? Who am I grateful for? That's all I do at the end of the night. I don't go great detail. It's one-liners. It's not like a full-out diary. Some people that works for them, doesn't work for me. I also, before I leave work, because I do most of my jobs at the gym these days instead of home again, I open my computer screen, I set out the notepad, and I usually pour my big full Yeti of water because I also struggle drinking my water. So that's kind of an extra thing that I throw in there. Now, next day planning. So I set up my calendar for the next day. This works better, this system, if you just, again, we want to take away our need to make decisions. So by priority my priority tasks and priority 1 and 2 tasks, kind of creating a template, or for me, I know that Monday morning between 7 and 9 is amazing time for me. Focus-wise, time-wise, silence-wise. I'm already at the gym. I got from 7 to 9 locked in my office. I'm going to bang out priority 1 tasks right there. So one less decision. I'm not looking at where I'm going to put priority 1 tasks. I'm just looking for a priority 1 task to plug and play. I do the same with my priority 2s. There's some good times during my week where I know I'm going to put some priority 2s. Then, as my weeks might look different each to each, right? I always know that I'm always available at this time for a priority 1, already available at this time for a priority 2. I can just plug and play the rest of them where I need to. So this is kind of what a calendar looks like at the end of the week for me. This is a little bit busy of a week, right? This is a lot of things, but you got to remember, I didn't lay this all out on Sunday. I adjusted this. Monday was really the only day that looked like this when I wrote it. Then Monday night, I created Tuesday. Then Tuesday night, I created Wednesday. And some of those items, I don't remember this particular week, got dragged over. I used some color coding to make it a little bit easier for me. And then, like I said, I'm going to show you a live calendar so you can have a look at what I'm doing this week and how I'm going to do it. So some other tasks. So there's some things that I can do that, I look at the business guys in here and the people that are running, large scale programs like Jeremy. I have some pre-fills where I'm not going to bother having to do it. I just know that every single Monday, Money Monday, that's when I do all of the banking. Okay, that's when I do a bunch of transfers. That's when we pay employees. I don't have to think about it. I just know there's a set detail of tasks that I'm going to do Monday from 8 to 8:30 a.m. It happens every single week. I don't have to think about it. Tuesdays are for my team. Okay, Tuesdays I have team meetings. I have meetings with gentlemen on this program. Wednesdays are my check-ins for my workouts. Thursdays are thoughtful, so I'm going to do something thoughtful for learning or growth every single Thursdays. And Friday says family and finances, a review, before I go into the weekend with the finances, and the family has actually switched to friends. I found that I was really putting some of my good friends and relationships on the back burners. So on Fridays between 11 and 2, I leave open to try to book something to hang out with a buddy. Okay, or some type of relationship to get that going and to make sure. And I shouldn't say it isn't just my family, it'll be my mom and my dad. It shouldn't be like family for me. It's not family in terms of Danny and the boys. It's family in terms of other family. My mom, my dad, my closest friends. Now, like I said, make it easy. Make it evergreen. Plan your week so that it's very, very set out and there's less decisions to make. Enter those evergreen items in so they repeat on your calendar. Keep tasks to 60 minutes. I find that anything over 60 minutes, for me, maybe you guys got greater focus, but I start to fidget and I start to want to move around. I need to get up out of my desk. I'm getting old, I get sore, and I want to move, right? By feeding the dog, right, you get wins. And that's what it's all about for us. Like I talked about being Pavlov's dogs. I want to feed that dog. And I am very satisfied when I get that treat. When I knock off a priority 1 Monday morning, sometimes 2 or 3, I launch into Monday with 2 or 3 wins. I fed the dog, man. And what does a dog do when he wins, when he gets that treat? He wants to win more. He wants to earn more treats. Feed that dog. We're not much different. Use the remaining time of that block for your noise when you get it done. And reward yourself with coffee, social media, whatever else that is. So before we get into questions, and I'm sure there are some, I want to show you my week this week coming up that I planned. All right, so I didn't update this from I know it's for the week. I kind of saved this on Monday, I did this ahead, and I kind of mimicked my week so you guys could see it. So on Sunday, I laid out this Monday. That was the only day that I put in. You can see that my green items there are all my things for me. Those are noise complaints for me. Those are my non-negotiables. Or sorry, not noise complaints. 10-6 items for me. Those are my non-negotiables. So you see my workouts are listed in. Boys night with my kids. A weekly non-negotiable that I switched up recently was I will work out with my boys twice a week. So you see 10 and 11 on Mondays. And there. The yellow ones. Those are my meetings. So that's another thing I've laid out for the whole week long. My meetings with other people. That's important to me. I found a way to kind of save time was that instead of trying to schedule all of my meetings, I just block off this entire Tuesday from 11 to 2:15 to have my meeting. I send out a link and people book them on their own. If I end up with nothing in there, that's a case where now I can plug and play a priority item into there. You'll see the blue ones. The blue ones are just my space savers. That's where I know I'm going to have time every single week to hit a priority 1. So that's where I will pull a priority 1 item like social media videos are due. Upload a podcast. I'll pull my priority 1 items into there and not have to think about it. I've saved space for priority 2s. But you also notice that throughout this week, I got a ton of extra space. So every single day, I'll just plug a couple more in. Or I'll click and drag something over into this. Maybe I didn't, right here, it wouldn't say priority 1 anymore. It would say whatever that task was. Maybe it didn't get done because somebody got hurt in the early class. Or because I put a ball through my face in the early class and had to go get stitches, right? On that day, I had to now click and pull over items so that I'm easy and ready to go for the next day. Priority 2s, Thursday morning, tons of time for that to get it in. And then again, like I said, lots of time to do everything else. Does it kind of duplicate is a common question from my book onto my Google Sheet? A little bit, but on my book, I find it much easier to take those tasks. And if I don't ever need to add them to my calendar, I won't, but I find it very easy to then just add them onto my calendar. Yes, I still scratch it out in my book. Every single day, I add to this book, I delete from this book, I scratch things off that maybe changed, or I change the priority list. Okay, so I'm not planning out the whole week. I'm just giving myself locked in for the things that are most important to me. It's awesome, boys. Thank you so much for coming on here.